Choosing your fulfillment warehouse can be one of the most important decisions in your business. We've been using a fulfillment warehouse for our sock business since 2021, and it's been an absolute game changer for us. Outsourcing fulfillment means we have been able to focus on growing the business to 6 figures and beyond. Plus, it means that we can work remotely anywhere in the world. But it is such a massive decision, whether you are looking for a new warehouse and you've not gone through the process before, or if you're looking to get a new warehouse because your current one isn't meeting your needs. It's a really important decision. It's a really big decision. And if you get it wrong, it can cause a lot of headaches and lose you a lot of money. And that's why I'm doing this video, because it's such an important process. I thought we could share the learnings that we have gone through in recently moving warehouses. I'd argue that our success on Faire is because we've also got a fulfillment warehouse. In doing so, we're able to give amazing customer service to our B2B customers, but we can focus on the growth of the account itself. So if you're looking to start your journey into 3PLs, or you're currently in a 3PL, this is the video for you, because we've recently gone through the process of going out there, re-tendering all these warehouses, finding a better one, negotiating prices. It's a laborious process. It took us up to 6 months, but it was a very, very important one to get right. So I have a lot of juicy advice for you in this video. So we were looking for a new warehouse because we've been with our previous one for a couple of years. We wanted better service, we wanted better prices, and we also wanted a warehouse closer to us where we live, so we could go and visit more often. So since moving into our new warehouse, we actually go monthly to visit our warehouse to kind of keep an eye on things, check out the stock, get content, and just speak with them and kind of deepen that relationship with them. It's a really important part of your business. So you don't really want to just outsource, set and forget, because that's when things can go wrong if you're not staying on top of it. So actually beginning the search is a massive stage of the process. I'm sure a lot of you might have been contacted already by warehouses. There are so many out there. So how do you even begin to choose a warehouse that's right for you? I've got a lot of advice that I'm going to give you now that will help you find the right warehouse for you and your business, and hopefully you won't lose your mind in the process. So the first thing you need to do is just sit down and write out what you need from your warehouse. What is important to you and your brand, and also what's not important. To give you an example of some must-haves that we had on our list for our warehouse, we wanted sustainable packaging options. We know that's both really important to our customers, but also really important to our brand ethos. We also needed a good range of postage options. So this will vary depending on what product you're selling. We're selling socks, so they're fairly light and easy to post, but we also have an amazing thing with our product that we're able to fit it into Royal Mail large letter. So in the UK, that is a smaller postage option than the kind of small parcel step up, but it means it's much cheaper for us. So the more socks that we can fit into that large letter option, the more affordable it is for us. So it was really important for us to have that as an option. That was a non-negotiable for us, but we've worked that out. So we've sat down and worked out what is absolutely non-negotiable for us, what is nice to have, and what do we not care about in a warehouse. As we went through this process, we started to realize a lot of green flags that we see as good signifiers that I will reveal to you in this video when I tell you who we chose to be our final warehouse. So after you have sat down and worked out what do you ideally want from a warehouse, I also really recommend that you speak to other brands that are already using 3PLs. Can they recommend anyone to you, or is there anyone you should avoid? There are a lot of brands out there who are already in warehouses and will either sing their praises or not. So getting those referrals is a really important part of the process. Feedback from other brands is the #1 thing that will drive our decision to speak to a warehouse or to visit a warehouse or not. If another brand has had a really bad experience with a warehouse, we're likely to not even bother with that warehouse. And if there's more than one brand that has had the same experience with that warehouse, yeah, we won't be touching them at all. And don't forget, I'm here singing the praises of our current warehouse as well. So if you do need a warehouse in the UK, I'd be more than happy to introduce you to ours. We ended up going with a warehouse called Sprint Logistics. They're based out near Heathrow, which is ideal for us being in London. As you will learn from this video, as I go through all the stages of finding this warehouse and getting our shortlist, Sprint Logistics ended up being the best option for us, and they've been delivering amazingly for us. We're really happy with our decision. We've been in there for a while now. And so if you do want an introduction, I'll be more than happy to put you in touch with them. You can get in touch with us at hello@candidfounders.com. Asking us naturally will really shorten down the process, because we have our own warehouse that we're happy to recommend, as well as others that we came across in the process that we thought were good but not quite right for our needs that might fit yours. But if you do want to go through the entire process yourself of kind of tendering these different warehouses, here's what I recommend you do next. Create a really good spreadsheet. This is so important because you're going to have so much information, and with warehouses it's really difficult because you're not comparing apples with apples. You're kind of comparing apples with pears and bananas and all kinds of things going on because they're not like for like. There's certain things that are like for like. I feel like the postage options, so the pricing and all of those, the pick rates, the second pick rates, the storage costs tend to be a bit more comparable, but there's loads of other options flying around that you need to consider. Make sure that you have all your traits that you're looking out for, because you've done your list of what's important to you, so have all of those listed out so you can start kind of doing a checkbox exercise of, does that warehouse have sustainable packaging? How long have they been in business? Where are they based? How far away are they from you? Maybe there's a certain courier that you need them to work with. Do they do international? What are their international shipping rates? There's so many things that you need to consider before you dive straight in with one warehouse. And don't forget all the kind of trust factors around it as well. So reviews, Trustpilot, Google, also brands as well. So if you haven't found a brand that works in that warehouse, ask the warehouse. So if you're already speaking to them, ask them, is there anyone you can speak to that they currently work with? Who are their brands that they work with in the warehouse, and speak to them directly. If you can, try and get a referral directly from the brand rather than have the warehouse as a middleman. I think it's always better to get a first-hand experience from the brands themselves. You will start to filter out the warehouses that don't quite give you the right feels. Really, there's a lot of gut instinct as well that goes into this. If it doesn't feel right, it probably isn't right for you. There's so many warehouses out there, you don't need to go with the one that isn't making you feel quite right. I always say that, you know, especially with larger warehouses, you're going to be put through to a sales team. So they're going to be giving you the sales pitch. They absolutely should be giving you the best possible customer service at this point. So at this point, if you're not getting incredible customer service from the sales team, red flag, red flag. Like, if you're not getting good service from the sales team, are you going to get good service from the rest of the team? So for me, every stage of the journey, you should be getting the best possible service from this warehouse. When you get to quoting stage, and so you've got your kind of list of warehouses that you've either reached out to or you've done some research on, you need to start getting to the point where you're getting prices, because not all warehouses will show their prices on their website. That's kind of normal for the industry as well. Like, to me, it's not a red flag if they don't have prices on their website, because they actually want to tailor a quote to you. But this stage, you need to make it as easy as possible for you and them to actually provide a quote. So we exported our last 12 months of orders that we'd done with our previous warehouse with all of the data, and we passed it on to the warehouses that we wanted quotes from. So this enabled them to see what a typical year looks like for us. Obviously, you can't forecast the rest of the year super accurately, so they take that as a base, and then they'll go off and provide a quote for us. If you're not currently with a warehouse, you can export your current orders from Shopify or whatever you're using, but give them an idea of what your current volumes are and what they could be expecting. So you will get back storage costs, pick and pack costs, the packaging costs, the shipping courier costs as well, across all of your postage options. So do make sure you're asking for the postage options that you need. As I mentioned, we asked for large letter, we wanted international, next day, tracked, like all of the different postage options that you could want. A warehouse should give you lots of optionality. The benefit of being in 3PL is they hold the relationship with the couriers. So they're able to get mass volume discount pricing from couriers, because they go to Royal Mail and they say, right, well, we're shipping hundreds of thousands of orders in this postage category. What price can you give us? Because they're shipping more than one brand. So that is a real benefit of using a 3PL. At this stage, some warehouses will self-select out based on price. So you really need to be tight on your margins here. Fulfillment and shipping is one of our biggest outgoings as a company. So if it doesn't work on a unit economic basis, if it's not profitable, it's a no. So you have to be really tight on your numbers at this point. Don't go into a contract with numbers that are not going to work for your business. So you've done all this at home, hopefully on a really good spreadsheet. You might have even had conversations with the warehouses on the phone, on Zoom, had conversations with other brands. So you're getting a good idea of the market and what kinds of warehouses are out there. You might have even managed to get a short list, because at this point you want to start visiting them, and that is so important. You need to go and see the warehouse that your stock is going to be in. I do recommend visiting slightly different warehouses. It gets really difficult if you're visiting 5 of the exact same warehouse. Very hard to compare. So we actually went and visited lots of different ones. So we had Sprint Logistics, which was our larger company, had been around in the industry for a long time, down south, so a really good location for us. Works in a few different locations, has connections with abroad warehouses as well. So that was our kind of like middle ground player. We also went to visit another one that was a huge warehouse that serves, you know, they have like 50 plus warehouses across the UK, so a big player, just to kind of get a difference of opinion, understand the different service levels, understand the difference in pricing as well. So we had our medium size, we had our large, we had our small independent. So this was a brand that they had started their own warehouse. They were much further up north, but we went to visit them because we liked them. They came out well in our spreadsheet, so we had that as an option. We had a very tech solution based one, so one that was like the absolute gold standard for their kind of warehouse software, because that's all of their own technology. So we had that play, and we also had robots, which was very exciting. Andy was buzzing to go visit this one, and that was amazing from a pick cost point of view, but we also had a lot of kind of queries about how it would work from us. Robots,
oh hell no.
Something a bit new. So as you can see, 5 very different warehouses, but that gave us a really good spread of understanding of what kind of warehouse would work for us. And again, this is why I feel like we're in a really good position to talk to you about 3PLs, because we have seen lots of different ones and we've gone through this process. Again, it took us 6 months to get to the point where we made a decision on the warehouse. We had gone to visit them all, we'd spoken with the founders, we'd spoken with the sales team, like we'd done a lot of work. We knew that this was a big decision for us to move warehouses, so we wanted to get it right. So when you're visiting warehouses, there's a few things that you want to look out for. Green flags, red flags. For us, the first thing is how organized the warehouse looks. Like if it's messy, especially, you know, we were visiting in non-peak. We were visiting in kind of like January, February time. So it's after peak. You'd hope they had time to kind of tidy up. So if the warehouse is looking messy, red flag. You want them to be nice, organized pick faces, because that is giving you an idea of how they're going to treat your product and look after it. Speak with people in the warehouse as well. Like you should be down there in the weeds, speaking to people on the front line and understanding, you know, watching them work, see how they interact with each other. You get a genuine sense of how happy the warehouse workers are. And I think that's a red flag if it feels a bit like of a bad place to work. And actually, speaking of teams, I think it is really important to understand how long has the team been there. If you've got a team that has been around for years and they haven't moved jobs, that's genuinely a green flag. But if there's a high turnover of team, both in the warehouse, in the sales team, in the management team, like for me, that's a red flag. At this point, like it really is information capture. You're kind of going in there and you need to make the right decision for your business. So get as much information as you can about these warehouses, and that will help inform your decision. And then it comes down to making the decision. So I want to talk about how we actually came to making our decision, because we had 5 good warehouses on paper. We went to visit them, we got all our quotes in. Immediately we lost 2 based on price. So we lost the techie solution one, that was quite expensive. They were awesome, but quite expensive, so we lost them, and also the massive player as well ended up being too expensive for us. So that brings us down to 3 warehouses that we are looking at. We had the robots, we had the independent, and we had Sprint Logistics. As you know, we went with Sprint Logistics in the end, but I want to talk through our process of how we got there. So robots, great option for us. As a product, we're very light, easy to pick. So the pick costs were really low because it's robots. Andy really loved the system. Also, watching the little robots go around the warehouse was super cute. It really reminded me of Monsters Inc. So that was really exciting, but they didn't quite have the right postage options for us. As I mentioned, the large letter thing is so important for us, and the international shipping options are really important for us as well. So they kind of started self-selecting out based on those options and having those in place. So that left us with Sprint and this independent. And they were both kind of even at this stage. They both had really good founders who were engaged with us. The team seemed awesome. The pick faces were immaculate. It was becoming quite a hard decision. There were a few things that pushed us over the edge, and we ended up going with Sprint. The first one was the distance. So Sprint is much nearer to us, and that really became a bit of a blocker for us because, as I said, we want to visit them regularly. The second big thing for us is Sprint has been around for a while. Their team has been the same for years. They're all super engaged. The warehouse staff are paid a great wage. So everyone we spoke to was super engaged, super passionate about what they were doing as well. So Sprint was starting to tick a lot of boxes for us, and actually there were some specifics that they did that really ended up being a really good signifier for us as well. The software they use, so they have their own custom software that integrates with Shopify. That is a no-brainer for us. That's a non-negotiable. So that was the main thing that we absolutely had to have. The packing and kitting options as well. So Sprint have their own packing and kitting team. So if we want to go in there and say, hey, we've got all of this stock, we need it packed into boxes of 5, here's a gift box, here's a note, this is how you need to do it. They have an entire team that will do that for you. So as a gifting product, that was actually such a win that Sprint have this option for us. Seller Fulfilled Prime is also another option that Sprint has available to us. So whether you're on Amazon or not yet, that could be an option in the future. And as I always want with my warehouses, is optionality. Whether I'm doing something right now or not, it's good to know that we have that option. So that was another tick in Sprint's field, that they have Seller Fulfill Prime. And communication, this is such a big part of your warehouse because you should be assigned an account manager. So you need to understand what your relationship is going to be like with that person. Find out how many accounts they look after. It should be a red flag if they're looking after like way more than 10 accounts. I don't know what the kind of optimal amount of accounts to look after is, but ours looks after 3 or 4, and it feels like we get a really good service from our account manager. We're really happy with like the relationship and service that we're getting from them. So really the final thing that tipped us over the edge into moving with Sprint, along with all the kind of like check boxes we went through, is that gut feeling and that service that we were getting from them. So every checkpoint that we worked with Sprint, whether it was their sales team, their founder, the account managers, or the guys in the warehouse, we had this amazing gut feeling about this team. And they have proven that to be the case as well since we've been working with them. So we've been in there for a few months now and they have been incredible. So we definitely made the right decision. So there is a lot to be said for the gut feeling when you are speaking to the teams at the warehouse. And they worked really hard for our business. There were other warehouses we worked for that it felt like they were on the fence about working with us, whereas Sprint worked really hard to gain our business. So we went to them. In the end, we wanted to move really, really quickly. So we'd done all that work and then we needed to move fast. We severed contract on our last warehouse. We needed to move. We wanted to make it a short period of time. We don't want a gap where we're not sending out any orders. So in the end, we needed to move really fast. So we went back to the founder to say, hey, what can you do on price? Like, we need the contract ASAP. And honestly, he came back to us like 5 a.m. on a Saturday, like, yep, here you go, let's do this. Like, they worked so hard to win our account. So again, that feeds into that gut feeling that we've made a good decision here in the people that we're working with, and we've been really happy about it since. So super happy to like recommend that warehouse, but also if you need to talk about other warehouse options, I can also recommend some of the other warehouses that we went to in our process but just weren't right for us. So do reach out if you want an introduction to Sprint Logistics, because as I said, we've been super happy with them, really pleased with how the move went as well. So reach out at hello@candidfounders.com if you'd like an intro. And I just want to finish off the video by giving you a few pieces of advice about moving day, because the previous time I moved into a warehouse was from home into the warehouse. It was quite new. We had a tiny van, 12 boxes, that was about it. So it wasn't too much of a stress. This time we had an entire lorry and it felt like it could have been quite a stressful process. So there was a few pieces of advice I want to give you about how to make the most of moving day. I really recommend that you are there at your previous warehouse. If you do have one and you're moving, I recommend that you're there for moving day. I went and I stayed up there and we moved over a couple of days, and I'm so glad I did, because they just weren't organized enough for the stock and how we wanted it packed. So I was there overseeing it, making sure that everything was packed correctly. I knew exactly what stock had definitely gone onto the lorry. I could check the warehouse to make sure we hadn't forgotten anything and nothing was being missed. That's a really important part of the process. For all the will in the world, you're leaving them. So unless they've been an excellent warehouse, you might not be able to trust that they're going to do an amazing job. Not as good as you are. You're going to be a stickler with your stock. So I really recommend that you be there. At the other end, we actually did a complete full stock take when the boxes came off the lorry and into Sprint. So although we could have let Sprint do that, that would have cost us quite a lot. So we decided, let's just take a day and do a full inventory check of our stock. Go through all the boxes, check for anything damaged, just kind of make decisions on stuff there and then. And that would save us a lot of money. We were also able to kind of consolidate stock, because you're paying for storage. So you want to be able to consolidate. You don't want huge boxes with a few pairs of socks in. So we consolidated all of our stock down and made sure that it was all ready to go into the warehouse, ready for Sprint to start selling. So if you're going through a warehouse move or you're thinking about doing it, my one piece of advice really is to do it early. Make sure that you're kind of doing it ahead of time. Even if you think you're not quite ready for a warehouse yet, we've been doing the process of searching for the warehouse, going through this research, visiting them before we needed them. So when we did need them, both times it felt like a sudden rush. We really need a warehouse. The first time we'd run out of storage. I had a load of stock coming in that we had nowhere to put it, so I needed to move fast. The second time we just really wanted to move warehouse. We'd severed contract on the previous one. We needed to move quickly. So in the end, we'd done all our research ahead of time and we were able to make a decision really quickly. So I really recommend that you do research ahead of time. Feel free to reach out to us, hello@candidfounders.com, if you want an intro to our warehouse, or if you have any other questions, please drop them in the comments, because we've recently gone through this process. It took us a while, but I hope all this advice makes it a quicker process for you. And yeah, if you've got any questions, drop them in the comments. We release videos every week, mainly on like growing on the wholesale side of the business, specifically on Fair Marketplace. We've done really well on that channel, but we also do these wider business videos as well to talk about our experience. Hopefully you can learn from it. So do subscribe if you're here to grow your business, and I'll see you in the next video.